I want you to imagine yourself 1 year from now. Same face, but different energy, calmer energy, and more you. Authentically you. Today's episode is not about changing who you are in 2026, about becoming a whole different person and just switch into this whole new personality. It is about how to become more you and be better with yourself. And with that, I welcome you to the new podcast episode of the Blush and Bloom podcast, the podcast where we become our best selves. Honestly, we all knew that I was also going to publish this episode that everyone posts this time of year because, would I actually be a lifestyle, life improvement, self help podcast if I didn't do it? I don't think so. I'm trying to do this episode, but add a little twist to it. Do a little something that helps you realize that it's not about becoming a whole different person next year. And because sometimes we plan so many things for 2026 or just the new year that we feel like, okay, this is impossible to achieve, which is the problem we often have. We overplan. We have too many goals, and it feels like we almost need to be a new person to achieve all this. But it's not what that is about. It is about becoming you and finding what is best for you. So, yeah, every year we say, this will be my year, but then we don't put a lot of change into it. Or even if we do improve things, it's not everything, which we can't improve everything in 1 year. It needs to be step by step until you eventually reach the best version of you, which the sad truth about it is, even when you reach your best version, you are never done improving because with improving, you have new goals, which is, I think, the beauty of it. You can always have something to look forward to, but still a lot of improvement to see and to feel proud of yourself for. Back to what I was saying, 2026 doesn't mean pressure. It doesn't have to mean pressure. It is about intention. So, this episode is not a strict rule book feeling like you're in the military. It is a soft reset, a reminder, and an inspiring, motivating episode. So, romanticize this moment. Grab a journal, light your candle, do whatever you need to be in the moment. And your year, your life doesn't magically change in a few days when 2026 January 1st arrives. It's you that changes. Or let's say the intentions within yourself, the motivation to make this year the best year yet. An important thing to say is motivation fades, but your identity, yourself, it lasts, it stays. And the big problem with, for example, New Year's planning or just in general setting goals is there are two types of goals. The first are outcome based goals. So the outcome is what you're looking at. For example, I want to be successful. The success is the outcome. And then there are like identity based goals. Like, for example, I want to be a person that stands up for themselves every day and works on their goals. And that is a big difference that we often don't see, which is what leads to our planning being unrealistic and not achieving our goals. Because saying I want to be successful, first of all, it's a very unclear goal. What do you mean by wanting to be successful? And second of all, you can influence that in a way, but you can't really influence the outcome. You can't know if in 2026 you will be successful. Just like me, I can't for sure know, for example, this year my podcast is going to blow up. I can wish for it, I can work for it, but I cannot know 100% sure, even though I tell myself that and get it in my brain, I can't really know it. What I can know is the identity based goals that I set for myself. For example, as I said, be someone that stands up for herself. Taking it with like the example of the podcast, by setting up for myself and posting a podcast episode every week, I can control that. um and it does affect the outcome, but it's not the outcome itself, and that is what then can lead to me becoming successful, for example. And here are some reflective questions to kind of get to knowing what you want to work on this year. Who do I want to be by the end of 2026? What kind of person? What kind of woman keeps showing up even when no one is watching? And what habits does that version of me have? So reframe your goals kind of as standards and not as wishes. Now, this is what I'm trying to implement here that makes the episode just a little bit different and worthy to listen to. I have a little exercise. It is a voice note or a letter from your future self. So close your eyes. It's December 2026. You're calm, you're proud, you're grounded. Imagine, where are you living? What is your daily routine like? How is your confidence? How is your mindset? How do you treat yourself and talk to yourself? And now record a voice note or write a letter or a video, whatever it is, from your future self at the end of 2026 to your current self. And you might be thinking, how do I do this? What do I say? So here are some prompt ideas. For example, you can say, I'm proud of you for not giving up when things get hard, for example. The moment everything changed was when you started. Maybe you want to start a certain thing this year. Or even just thank you for choosing discipline over comfort. Now, okay, I know this is a bit far-fetched, so let me explain why this works and why you should do this. Sometimes emotional connection works a lot more than logic than empty words. The goals are just standing there, floating there in your head, on a paper, wherever. You don't, while you do have a personal connection to them because it's what you want to have, but you can't really, it's kind of abstract. It's a little hard to grab. And that way you make it personal. You make it sound and feel like you have already achieved all those things. You can now picture yourself much more having achieved these things and doing these things. And you're also kind of telling your brain, yes, I have that. By the end of the year, I have that. It's like kind of manipulating yourself. And that way, your brain will kind of like think, okay, she achieves this by 2026. So your brain feels like it is working towards something familiar, that it knows it's going to happen. It's not just randomly doing things. You're turning 2026 into something personal, um, within yourself, thought through, and not just something abstract. So, girl, go do that. And also, something that I really, really like to do that I did last year is record a little video just for myself, personal, where I ask myself things about the years. So that is kind of the opposite of what we're doing here. It's not future self talking to past self, but more past self talking to the future self. So I'm asking, I was asking me right now certain questions. For example, according or regarding this account, this podcast. And that way, when I look back on it, I can still see what were my goals then, what did I achieve, what can I be proud of, and you see the progress. Because we always look forward, which is super, super important. But sometimes it can be important, or like feeling like a reward when you look back and see what you have achieved, and that way you won't be so hard on yourself because you know, okay, I've already achieved this and this and this. This part is one where you might think, I have it all worked out. I know how this works, which is planning your goals. But there are so many mistakes we make in this. I know it sounds like, what can I do wrong with planning my goals? It's literally just planning my goals. But there are some mistakes you can make, or not mistakes, but let's express the opposite. There are some things you can improve to make the chances higher of actually achieving your goals. So, this is your step by step growing glow up session. Choose just a few categories. Do not choose 1 billion categories unless it's tiny, 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 tiny things that you want to change, because otherwise you will be overwhelmed. You will not know where to start, what to do, and you will neglect some of them, worst case, all of them, feeling bad at the end. But if you only ever gave yourself an amount that actually is realistic, you will achieve more of that, like a bigger part of that, and you will feel better. Some examples for like life sections to choose is mindset and mental health, your career or your studies, your health and body, your relationships, and also your lifestyle or your self-care or finances. And this is your reminder, a focused woman is a powerful woman. Now, turn the goals that you have in these like certain aspects, sections that you chose, turn them into specific goals. Saying, I want to be a content creator is such a big goal that overwhelms you when you look at it. You won't know what to do, and it's too vague. And when you don't achieve that by the end of the year, you will feel so disappointed because honestly, becoming a content creator, well, you can, but a successful full-time content creator isn't just done in a year, especially not when you just write it down like that. Well, it can be done in a year. Obviously, I wish for everyone to be able to do that in a year. But just realistically seen, it's not always the case. So instead of just writing down, I want to be a full-time content creator, you can actually plan out a strategy. I want to post on Instagram and TikTok 4 times a week. I want to post on YouTube 1 time a week. I'm going to analyze my content every Sunday and improve it from there. And that way, you have a specific goal. You will know what to do once the new year rolls around. And even if you are not a full time content creator by the end of the year, you can still look back on, for example, posting 4 times and know, yes, I did that. I achieved that goal. And I have a little formula on how to plan your goals more specifically. First, you have the goal. You think to yourself, why? Why do I want this? You think to yourself, how can I do this? And then you put that into a weekly or a monthly action or actions. Too many actions are then also overwhelming, but let's say you make 2 actions a month and then you write these actions down. Or you can also do a daily micro step. And that way you can, if you still want the goal of, let's say, becoming a content creator, you can write that as a title, and then under that, you can write that goal, that smaller goal. Because as I said, otherwise it's too big, it's too vague, it's too overwhelming, and we don't even end up doing it. Another example could be, I want to be more confident this year. And also, like, that is such a big goal and also kind of a result based goal where you don't really know, like, how do I do this? Because obviously, if you could snap and then be confident, you would have done that by now. So, how can I become confident though? Like, why didn't I achieve that earlier? Because you didn't know how. And that's why you write down again, how do I do this? What do I want? The goal to be confident. Why? To feel better, to show up as my best version. How do I do that? If you don't know that, you can, well, if it's about being confident, you can watch my video on how to be confident. But otherwise, you can um look it up, how to be confident. You can ask ChatGPT whatever. And for example, to become more confident, you can do I journal every morning and write down something I'm grateful for or like I'm appreciating myself for. I work out 3 times a week. Maybe that makes you confident. I'm gonna post an episode on that soon, a working out episode where I also tell you the benefits. And actually, little spoiler alert, working out can actually make you more confident. And then back to the goals. You can also write down keeping promises to myself because then you will have more confidence in yourself and you will feel like you yourself are more reliable. Now let's get to the third step, the monthly focus method. Instead of trying to do everything at once, as I said, if you feel like you don't want to spread these 4 to 5 things all over the year, you want to focus and go more into detail with these certain things, you can also do that with the monthly focus. And for that, you can make each month have one main focus. January, discipline. February, self-love. Um, March, consistency. April, confidence, etc., etc., etc. That way, every month you can have something to get more into, be more detailed in. You can do your research on that thing. You can slowly figure out, try new things, try new habits, and that way you will know what to do. And if it's not too much, if it's not overwhelming, you can even try to add these tiny habits like to the next month. For example, if in February you really work on your self love and you find out you have this ritual that really helps you, you can try to implement that in the month of March when you have a new focus, but still every evening you make yourself that cup of tea that makes you feel this self love, self care that you need. And this prevents burnout. It prevents burnout. As we said, you're not overwhelming yourself. You don't feel like every month you are so stressed, feeling like you have to implement so many things, look at every single goal you've ever had in your life, can be super overwhelming. Obviously, you have a life next to all your goals, and trying to achieve them is super important, but you, as I said, you have a life. And the growth, depending on what your goal is also seasonal. If your goal is to be out more, to enjoy nature more, that is easier to achieve during summer than during winter. And softness and structure leads to success. You're being soft to yourself, but you still have a structure and a plan and just knowledge on how to kind of do that. And now, actually, let me tell you how I am planning my year. And obviously, I know this were multiple like ways of planning, but you can combine them. You can pick and match and choose what is best for you. And now let me tell you about the way I am planning things. So I'm also trying to have more smaller and more specific goals and exactly tell myself how I can do that thing, but also trying to have monthly focuses. I always try that. I kind of fail. I'm more the person that tries to implement everything at once. I know the struggle, I know the problem, which is why this year I'm trying to plan a little differently. How I did it is obviously I made a vision board, as we all do. Well, not all of us, but many people do. It's like kind of a hype, kind of a trend. I did that. I made a vision board, but what I'm kind of changing in there is I kind of mixed and matched it. So I added pictures or like things that I already wanted to achieve last year, or just things that I've already achieved, to remind myself to, first of all, keep working on them and not neglecting them, because like it's not helping me if I'm just gonna neglect everything that I did last year because of my new goals. Then I also added some quotes that are motivating me so that yeah, when I read them, I just get this motivation, get that fuel back. And then I also, obviously, I added new pictures on things that I want to achieve this year, and there I kind of made a mix. So the big part of that is things that I can actually influence myself or like directly do something about them. For example, staying hydrated. I can directly drink. But I also added a few like Delulu things that are good for manifesting, just good for staying Delulu and remembering to dream big. For example, having 100K followers on Instagram. It is not impossible, but it is not something that I can wake up this morning and like actually do, like for example, drinking water. And it's also it's not that realistic because I'm at 2K followers, and from 2K to 100K are 98K thousand people. So it's not about, that goal is not about actually achieving it. Of course, it would be nice, but it's not like by the end of the year I need to have that. It is more of, it would be nice if I had that, and kind of reminding me what I'm doing this for. And another thing is I just put a picture of New York because my dream destination, a place where I've always wanted to go, don't ask me why. Okay, one day I was 14 and just decided that I need to go to New York. I actually also wanted to live there for a long, long time, which I still would like to do, but not as obsessively as I used to. So if I never end up living in New York, it's not the end of the world. But I would like to live there for like 1 to 2 years, not forever. And so I added a picture of New York, which is also something that I can't directly influence. Of course, I would be the one booking the flight, paying the vacation, whatever. But realistically seen, I probably won't be able to go to New York this year. I go to school. I don't have money. I can't just do that and go to New York. But it's still like a thought to stay the Lulu, don't forget this dream that you used to have, and just keep that in the back of your mind that you're also kind of indirectly working towards that goal. And my plan is to, for every single one of these pictures, or like some pictures kind of belong to the same area. For example, I have many pictures regarding my studies, is to grab a notebook and for every picture or like a theme to write down what exactly it is, as I said, what I want, and to write down how to achieve these things. How can I grow on Instagram? The thing that we mentioned earlier, that's what I want to do, is take every aspect, and then not actually, I have on my vision board, I have many, many, many things, and not taking every single one, but more the ones that I want to focus on, and actually work on, yeah, that I just want to put in like the center of this year. Now, this is your big sister, best friend reality talk that maybe you don't want to hear, maybe you do. We need to hear it. We need to talk about it, okay? Discipline over motivation. You need to rely on discipline, not motivation, okay? And you could be thinking, like, maybe I'm the wrong person to tell you this because that is something I've been working on, but this year I got a whole lot better. I still sometimes struggle with staying disciplined when I don't have the motivation, but this is your reminder that discipline is what's going to help you. It's not motivation that's going to help you achieve your dreams. If you're always motivated, I love that for you. But there are just days where you're feeling sluggish and not motivated. And obviously, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling sick, if you really just need a break, then take it. Please, for God's sake, take the break because if you don't, that's not good either, okay? Being overworked and burning out is not going to help you live that dream life. You just need breaks. Breaks are just as productive as doing things. But by taking breaks, I don't mean being lazy. Maybe sometimes it can be hard to know which one is which, but try to see, like, to feel, am I tired? Am I actually exhausted? Or am I just lazy? Is the thought of staying in bed just a little more attractive? So, yeah, there are honestly days where you won't feel inspired. I have that today. I don't know if I'm going to go to the gym. I don't really have the motivation for it. And then I thought to myself, Lila, like, why don't you want to go to the gym? Is it really because you're too lazy? In a way, yes, but then the thought of going to the gym was not as bad. It was more, I then realized it is more about, it's not also not about being tired. It is about having my priorities. Right now, I really want to get this episode up. There are just other things that I really want to do, and I know I can go to the gym whenever because I'm on vacation break. So, and the gym is also closing earlier today because it's the 24th of December, which is Christmas Eve. So, I then thought to myself, okay, let's not pressure yourself. You make this episode, you knew what you need to do. If there's still time to go to the gym, because it's only open for another 2 hours. If you still have the time to go to the gym, you do that. Otherwise, you just go tomorrow and take your time tomorrow. Go earlier tomorrow. So, back to what we were talking about discipline. Your future depends on that because also when you've achieved that, when you're that girl, achieved your perfect life, you won't feel motivated every single day then. Even when you're living in your dream place, having your dream jobs, there will still be things that you will be lazy to do. And discipline is actually self love. You're not punishing yourself, you're training yourself to be better. And in the long run, you're helping yourself. You're doing yourself a favor by doing that thing. Because often when we push through and have the discipline after, we will feel so good about it, or we will actually have a benefit. When you study, even though you don't want to, now you are not stressed. You don't need to study so much the day before the exam just because you had discipline and started a few days earlier. When you work out, in that moment, you don't want to. You need to be disciplined, but after that, you will feel so good about yourself. But there are still some tips that maybe help you to be motivated just a tiny bit more in life because life is more fun when you're motivated. My biggest motivation hack is going and seeing that aesthetic, searching it up on Pinterest, watching a video, watching a reel about that often gives me the motivation. The problem there is just that you then don't get stuck in this loop only watching that thing instead of actually doing it. And romanticize your routines, your workout routine. You can romanticize that, your study routine. You can romanticize that so that even just a tiny fraction of that discipline can be turned into motivation. And then, very important, celebrate the effort, not the perfection. Celebrate the fact that you did stand up for yourself and you did have that tiny bit of discipline and you did do that one thing that you just really wanted to do. Because if you always just strive for perfection, which is hard to achieve when you're hard on yourself, you will struggle with actually being satisfied with yourself. You will never be happy with what you have because you always strive for only a perfect thing. And what is perfect? I always say that. It's like it has like become my signature sentence. What is perfect? So track your progress and celebrate that progress and the effort instead of saying, oh my God, let's say you're trying a new makeup routine. And okay, it ends up being you kind of like it, but there's something about, I don't know, the eyeshadow that you like. Celebrate the fact that you got the rest of it, that you're getting there, and enjoy the makeup regardless, even though your wing or your eyeliner or your eyeshadow doesn't have the color how you imagined it to be. Let's get into kind of a deep and emotional thing. You need to let go of your past. Or no. That was wrong said. Not let go of your past, but let go of the bad things. Whenever you are planning, also, when you are working on something that you have already done last year, or yeah, still working on, or that you didn't achieve, reflect it. Why did I not achieve it? What about it do I want to change? For example, I wanted to build a business, but I was not consistent enough. Okay, then, okay, I didn't achieve that because I wasn't consistent. Why wasn't I consistent? I didn't have a good plan. So you try to avoid that by this year making a good plan that you can stick to like every month, that you have the same plan every month that you try to implement. Also, what beliefs, what people, what habits can't come into 2026? Let's say you, I don't know, always pick on your skin. And one goal of yours is skincare, and you don't have the skin that you like because you're picking on it. Okay, the habit of picking my skin when I'm nervous can come to 2026. And then try to, yeah, find the solution. Okay, so when I'm nervous, what do I do with my hands instead of picking my skin? And here also watch out that you don't start doing other bad habits. For example, I don't know, biting your nails or whatever it is. Try to find a healthy way to cope. For example, you put on a ring, you play with that ring. Yeah, what patterns kept me small? What kept me holding back last year? And how can I not repeat that? For example, always waking up late. Why? Because I slept late. How can I make sure to sleep earlier? By taking a 20-minute break instead of a 1 hour break after work and then starting my evening routine. Whatever. I think you get what I mean. And also, girl, I'm not trying to expose you if you're like this, but what were you trying to be for others? What were you doing not for yourself, but for someone else? Sit down, reflect that, let that sink in. Is there something that you're doing for someone else, not for yourself? Let's say you're growing your hair out, but you actually don't want the long hair. You want a bob. You want to rock this look. And you're like, and you were, maybe you were doing it for, because everyone was saying, oh my God, I love your long hair. I know that's kind of a weird example because maybe it's not really a goal, but you get what I mean. And then you do that bob. Okay, so the other people would say, "Oh my God, no, your hair." It's not them with the hair, it's you. It's you that has to look in the mirror every single day, and that it's about yourself. You should feel pretty, not your best friend. If she likes long hair, then she should grow her hair out. Like, not in a toxic way, but you get what I mean. What was I doing for others, and how can I turn that into something that I'm doing for myself that actually helps me grow and benefits me? And by that, I don't mean that every advice you get from someone else you shouldn't do. That's not what I'm saying. But there are often some things that we don't really do because we want to do them, but because someone else wants. If someone gives you an advice, I don't know, blue would suit you, and then you start wearing blue and you actually like it, you don't have to stop doing that just because someone else like gave you the suggestion. So write down, what are you releasing this year? What are you not bringing into 2026? And then maybe you can even rip that page out to like actually symbolically show yourself like, I'm done with all this. So I think it is not necessary to keep on yapping. I hope you can take this inspiration to plan out your year, or even if you don't plan, which you absolutely don't need to do, to just kind of have an idea on how to enter 2026. And 2026, we will be here together. We will still have an episode every single week. And if there's one specific thing that you feel like, oh, I don't know how to do this, tell me, girl. Tell me, because I am here to help you. So, this is your reminder, growth isn't linear. You can't expect to start at zero on the 1st of January and be at 100 by the end of the year. You can't expect that. It will go up, it will go down. You have ups and downs. You will achieve your goals. This is just like posting. Sometimes you'll post something that will have 10,000 views, and the next day you post something that will have 300. It is going to be up and down. And you don't need to become someone else and dump everything you've done before and start completely new. You can stay yourself, but just find out how to be completely, authentically, unapologetically you and the version of you that you like and that actually helps you become or have that future life that you deserve and you wish for and you will have one day. Consistency over intensity is key. Try to stay consistent instead of trying to do so many things at once and then never doing them again. So 2026 will meet you exactly at the point where you build your self-trust. You need to trust yourself and trust in your goals and that you will achieve them to actually be able to. If you start the year by saying, okay, by the end of the year, I want to have my dream job, but you don't trust yourself, that way you will maybe even unconsciously hold yourself back. You will not send that application, and that way you can't achieve that goal. And if you want to help me achieve my goals of 2026, I'd be so happy if you would like or share or give a feedback just so that we can keep growing together. And maybe we can hit those Delulu 10,000 followers on Instagram. So go ahead, add that underscore Leela with two A's, and I would be so happy if you followed me. Bye. See you in the new year.